I, Renee, 28F, come from a large, close-knit family that's been in the same small town for generations. We're not particularly religious, but we do have some traditions that everyone takes pretty seriously. One of these is our annual summer barbecue at my parents' house. It's a big deal, everyone shows up, from great-aunts to second cousins, and we spend the whole day catching up, playing games, and stuffing ourselves with food. To give you some background, our family gatherings weren't always this harmonious. When I was growing up, these events were often tense affairs. My dad's side of the family had a long-standing feud with my mom's side over some ancient land dispute that happened before I was even born. It got so bad at one point that we had separate gatherings for each side of the family. It wasn't until my sister Samantha, 32F, and I were in our teens that things started to change. We decided we were tired of the drama and convinced our parents to host a joint barbecue. It was awkward at first, but over the years, it became a symbol of our family's reconciliation. That's why these gatherings mean so much to everyone now. They represent the peace we fought hard to achieve. Samantha has always been the peacemaker in our family. Even as kids, she was the one who could smooth over arguments and get everyone laughing again. I've always admired that about her, even if I sometimes felt overshadowed by her natural diplomacy. Where Samantha is all tact and grace, I tend to be more direct and, admittedly, sometimes a bit tactless. This year's barbecue was last weekend, and that's where all the drama started. Samantha and her husband Billy, 34M, have been trying to have a baby for the past couple of years. They've been pretty open about their struggles with infertility, and the whole family has been supportive. I remember when Samantha first told me they were trying. We were having one of our sister nights, a tradition we started in college where we'd get together once a month, drink wine, and talk about everything and nothing. She was so excited, already planning out how she'd decorate the nursery and debating baby names. I was thrilled for her, but a small part of me felt a twinge of envy. Samantha had always been the one with the clear life plan: college, career, marriage, kids. Meanwhile, I was still figuring things out, jumping from job to job and relationship to relationship. As the months turned into years with no baby, I watched Samantha's excitement turn to worry, then to sadness. Family gatherings became harder for her, especially as our cousins started having kids of their own. I tried to be supportive, but I often felt like I was saying the wrong things. Once, I suggested they consider adoption, and Samantha didn't speak to me for a week. I learned to just listen and offer hugs when needed. Billy has been her rock through all of this. They've been together since high school, the epitome of high school sweethearts. I remember being so jealous of their relationship when I was a teenager, dealing with my own messy high school romances. But over the years, I've come to appreciate Billy as the brother I never had. He's always been there for Samantha, and for our whole family really. So when Samantha and Billy arrived at the barbecue looking happier than I'd seen them in months, I was thrilled. They were practically glowing, but they didn't say anything about why. I figured they were just in a good mood and didn't think much of it. I was just happy to see my sister smiling again. The day was going great. The weather was perfect, the food was delicious, Dad had finally perfected his secret barbecue sauce recipe, and everyone was getting along. It felt like old times, before the stress of trying for a baby had put such a strain on Samantha and Billy. Later in the afternoon, I was chatting with my cousin Liz, 30F, about her recent trip to Japan. Liz and I have always been close, we're only 2 years apart and spent most of our childhood summers together. She was showing me pictures on her phone when we came across one of a cat cafe. I mentioned that I'd always wanted to visit one, and Liz jokingly said, "Maybe you should open one here. You've already got the crazy cat lady thing going on." It was a running joke in our family. I'd adopted 3 cats over the past few years, much to my mom's chagrin. She was always hinting that maybe it was time for me to settle down and start a family instead of collecting more pets. I usually brushed off these comments, but they did sting a bit. Still, I played along with Liz's joke. I laughed and replied, "Hey, at least I'm not hiding any kittens under my shirt like Samantha is." As soon as the words left my mouth, I realized something was wrong. The conversation around us had gone eerily quiet. I looked up to see Samantha staring at me, her face white as a sheet. Billy was next to her, his arm around her shoulders, looking like he wanted to disappear. My mom broke the silence. "Samantha, honey, is there something you want to tell us?" Samantha burst into tears and ran out of the backyard. Billy followed her, but not before shooting me a look that could have melted steel. The rest of the family erupted into chaos. Some were excited, others were confused, and a few were angry, mostly at me. It turns out Samantha and Billy had just found out they were expecting twins. They were planning to announce it at the end of the barbecue with a cute reveal they'd prepared. My offhand comment had ruined the surprise they'd been planning for weeks. I felt terrible. I tried to explain that I had no idea Samantha was actually pregnant, I was just making a silly joke about her looking happy. But the damage was done. Samantha and Billy left early, and the rest of the barbecue was tense and awkward. It felt like we'd regressed back to the old days of family feuds and tense gatherings. Since then, I've been getting angry calls and messages from various family members. They're saying I ruined a special moment for Samantha and Billy, that I should have known better, that I'm insensitive and thoughtless. My parents are disappointed in me, and Samantha isn't returning my calls or texts. I honestly didn't mean to spoil anything. It was just a coincidence that my joke happened to be true. But now I'm wondering if I really did something wrong. Should I have been more careful with my words? Am I the asshole for accidentally revealing my sister's pregnancy? The whole situation is bringing up old insecurities. I've always felt like the family screw-up compared to Samantha's perfection, and now it feels like I've proven everyone right. I love my sister and I'm thrilled that she's finally pregnant after trying for so long. I just wish I could go back in time and keep my mouth shut at that barbecue. Update 1. It's been about a week since the barbecue incident, and things have only gotten more complicated. I've been trying to reach out to Samantha, but she's still not responding to my calls or texts. Billy finally answered one of my calls yesterday, but the conversation didn't go well. He told me that Samantha is devastated. Apparently, they've had 3 miscarriages in the past 2 years, which I didn't know about. They were keeping this pregnancy a secret until they felt more secure, and were planning to use the barbecue announcement as a way to finally celebrate after all their struggles. Billy said my careless joke had taken away their chance to control the narrative and enjoy the moment on their own terms. I was shocked to hear about the miscarriages. Samantha and I have always been close, sharing everything from boy troubles to work stress. The fact that she kept this from me hit hard. I couldn't help but wonder what else I might not know about my sister's life. I tried to apologize again and explain that I had no idea about their history or the pregnancy, but Billy wasn't having it. He accused me of always trying to be the center of attention and said this was just another example of me not considering other people's feelings. That hurt, because it's not true at all. I've always tried to be supportive of Samantha and Billy. His words brought back memories of our childhood. There was a time when I was about 12 and Samantha was 16. She had just won a big debate competition at school, and the whole family was celebrating at dinner. I remember feeling left out and upset that no one was paying attention to me. So I announced that I had been picked to be the lead in the school play, which wasn't true. The attention shifted to me, but when the lie came out, everyone was disappointed. Samantha was understanding, but I could tell she was hurt that I tried to steal her moment. I thought I'd grown out of that need for attention, but Billy's accusation made me wonder if maybe I hadn't changed as much as I thought. The conversation ended with Billy telling me to give them space and not to contact them again until they reach out to me. I feel horrible about the whole situation, but I'm also starting to feel a little frustrated. How was I supposed to know about something they were deliberately keeping secret? To make matters worse, the family divide is getting deeper. Most of our cousins and aunts are firmly on Samantha's side, but my brother Matt, 26M, and a few others think the whole thing is being blown out of proportion. There's a lot of whispering and side-taking going on, and it's making every family interaction incredibly tense. Matt has always been my ally in family dramas. He's the youngest, and we bonded over feeling overshadowed by Samantha's achievements. He called me the other day to check in, and we talked for hours about the situation. He thinks Samantha and Billy are overreacting, but he also understands why they're upset. It was comforting to know that at least someone in the family doesn't think I'm a complete monster. I decided to talk to my parents about it, hoping they could help mediate the situation. That backfired spectacularly. Mom burst into tears, saying she felt caught in the middle and didn't know how to fix things between her daughters. Dad just looked disappointed and said he expected better from me. Seeing my parents so upset brought back memories of the old family feuds. I remember how stressed and unhappy they were during those years, always trying to keep the peace between the two sides of the family. I had promised myself I would never be the cause of that kind of family strife, yet here I was, at the center of a new family drama. I'm starting to feel really isolated. My best friend Tara, 29F, is the only one who seems to understand my side of things. We've been friends since college and she's seen me through plenty of family dramas. She suggested I write Samantha a letter explaining myself, since she won't take my calls. I'm considering it, but I'm worried it might just make things worse. Tara also pointed out something that I hadn't considered. She reminded me of how competitive Samantha and I used to be as kids. We were always trying to outdo each other, whether it was in school, sports, or getting our parents' attention. Tara wondered if maybe some of that old rivalry was playing into this situation, making it harder for Samantha to forgive what was genuinely an innocent mistake. I've been thinking a lot about what Tara said. It's true that Samantha and I have always had a complicated relationship. We love each other fiercely, but there's always been an undercurrent of competition. I thought we'd moved past that as adults, but maybe those old dynamics are still influencing us more than I realized. I never meant for any of this to happen. I love my sister and I'm thrilled that she's finally pregnant after trying for so long. I just wish I could go back in time and keep my mouth shut at that barbecue. Am I wrong for feeling like this reaction is a bit extreme? Should I keep trying to apologize, or just give everyone space like Billy said? This whole situation is tearing our family apart, and I don't know how to fix it. Update 2. Things have taken an unexpected turn, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. About 3 days ago, I got a call from my cousin Liz. She was speaking in a hushed voice and sounded really nervous. She said she had something important to tell me, but I had to promise not to tell anyone else in the family. I agreed, mostly because I was curious about what could have Liz so worked up. What she told me left me speechless. Apparently, the night before the barbecue, Liz had run into Samantha at the pharmacy. Samantha was buying a pregnancy test, and she was visibly nervous. Liz, trying to be supportive, offered to wait with her while she took the test. Samantha agreed, and they went back to Liz's apartment. The test came back positive, and Samantha broke down crying. She confessed to Liz that she and Billy had stopped trying for a baby months ago. They had even started looking into adoption. Samantha was shocked by the positive test because, according to her, she and Billy hadn't been intimate in weeks due to the stress of their fertility struggles. Liz said she didn't know what to do with this information, especially after the scene at the barbecue. She felt guilty for keeping it a secret, but she also felt like it wasn't her place to say anything. She only decided to tell me because she thought I deserved to know the full story, given how much heat I was taking from the family. I was stunned. If what Liz said was true, it meant that not only was my barbecue comment not ruining a planned announcement, but it had actually forced Samantha to go through with a reveal she might not have been ready for. As I processed this information, memories of our childhood came flooding back. There was a time when we were teenagers, and Samantha had confided in me about sneaking out to meet a boy our parents didn't approve of. I had kept her secret, even when our parents grounded me, thinking I was covering for her. Samantha had eventually come clean, but it had taken her days to work up the courage. This situation felt eerily similar. Once again, I was in possession of a secret that could potentially clear my name, but at a great cost to Samantha. The weight of this knowledge felt heavy on my shoulders. I didn't know what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to tell everyone and clear my name, but I knew that would only cause more drama and hurt Samantha even more. Another part of me was worried about what this meant for Samantha and Billy's relationship. I spent the next day mulling over what Liz had told me. I thought about all the times Samantha had been there for me, like when I failed out of my first chosen major in college and was too ashamed to tell our parents. Samantha had sat with me for hours, helping me figure out a new plan and then standing by my side when I finally broke the news to Mom and Dad. Now, it seemed like Samantha might need that kind of support from me. Despite the hurt and frustration I'd been feeling, I knew I needed to be there for my sister. After thinking about it for a day, I decided to reach out to Samantha one more time. I sent her a text saying that I knew there was more to the story than what everyone thought, and that if she needed someone to talk to, judgment-free, I was here for her. To my surprise, she replied almost immediately, asking if she could come over. I'm writing this just before Samantha is due to arrive. I'm nervous about what she might say, and how this conversation could change things. I'm not sure if I should let her know that I know about her conversation with Liz, or if I should just listen to whatever she wants to tell me. This whole situation has become so much more complicated than a simple misunderstanding at a family barbecue. I'm worried about my sister, confused about what to do, and still feeling guilty about my role in all of this. Any advice on how to handle this conversation with Samantha would be appreciated. Update 3. The conversation with Samantha was intense, to say the least. She showed up at my place looking exhausted and on the verge of tears. As soon as I closed the door behind her, she broke down. Through her sobs, Samantha confirmed everything Liz had told me. She and Billy had indeed stopped trying for a baby, and she was shocked to find out she was pregnant. But there was more to the story. Samantha confessed that about 2 months ago, she had a brief affair with a coworker. It was a one-time thing that happened after a particularly difficult doctor's appointment where they were told their chances of conceiving were almost zero. She was devastated and made a mistake. She regretted it immediately and cut off all non-work contact with the coworker. As she told me this, I couldn't help but remember a similar situation from our past. When Samantha was in college, she had cheated on her then-boyfriend during a rough patch in their relationship. She had come to me, crying and full of guilt, and I had helped her work through it. It was one of the few times in our lives where I felt like I was the one giving advice and support, rather than the other way around. When she realized she was pregnant, she panicked. She knew there was a chance the baby wasn't Billy's, but she was too scared to tell him about her infidelity. She decided to pretend she had just found out about the pregnancy and go along with Billy's excitement. My comment at the barbecue had forced her to announce a pregnancy she wasn't even sure how to feel about yet. She admitted that her anger towards me was largely displaced guilt and fear. I was shocked, but I did my best to listen without judgment. Samantha said she's terrified of losing Billy if he finds out the truth, but she's also scared of raising a child that might not be his without him knowing. We talked for hours, weighing her options and discussing the potential consequences of each choice. I shared with her my memory of helping her through a similar situation in college, reminding her that we've always been there for each other, even in the toughest times. As we talked, I could see the toll this secret was taking on Samantha. She looked older than her 32 years, with dark circles under her eyes and a constant tremor in her hands. I realized that while I had been feeling hurt and isolated over the past week, Samantha had been carrying an even heavier burden. We discussed the possibility of her not telling Billy, but we both knew that wasn't a real option. The guilt would eat her alive, and there was always the chance that the truth would come out later, which would be even more devastating. In the end, Samantha decided she needs to tell Billy the truth, regardless of the outcome. She asked if I would be there with her when she does, as moral support. The request took me by surprise. After all the tension between us, I hadn't expected her to want me there for something so personal and potentially life-changing. I agreed, of course. Despite everything, she's my sister and I love her. We're planning to talk to Billy this weekend. The thought of it makes my stomach churn with anxiety, but I know it's the right thing to do. As for the rest of the family, we decided to keep them in the dark for now. Samantha will apologize to them for overreacting to my comment, and I'll accept their apologies for how they treated me. It's not a perfect solution, but it seems like the best way to handle things without airing all of Samantha's personal business to the entire family. Before Samantha left, we hugged for a long time. It reminded me of when we were kids, comforting each other after a nightmare or a bad day at school. For the first time in years, I felt like we were truly on the same team again, without any underlying competition or resentment. This whole experience has been a stark reminder that you never really know what's going on in someone else's life. I've learned to be more careful with my words, but I've also learned the importance of not jumping to conclusions or passing judgment without knowing the full story. I'm nervous about the conversation with Billy, but I'm glad Samantha felt she could trust me with the truth. Whatever happens, I'll be there to support my sister. It's what we've always done for each other, even if we sometimes lose sight of that. As I sit here, waiting for the weekend to come, I can't help but think about how quickly life can change. A week ago, my biggest worry was whether I should adopt a fourth cat. Now, I'm preparing to support my sister through what might be the most difficult conversation of her life. I don't know what the future holds for Samantha, Billy, or their unborn child. I don't know if our family will ever fully recover from this drama. But I do know that I'll do whatever it takes to be there for my sister, just like she's always been there for me.